Greetings. Hey, this is Johnny Lee with Peace at Work. We're dedicated to stopping rampage violence. We do this with the program's e-panic button and the e-security dashboard, which we'll use here today to show you the case of Robert Card. This is the reservist who went on the shooting in Lewiston, Maine last October. You might be familiar with this case. He first went into a bowling alley, shot a number of people. There was a youth program going on at the moment. He then went to a bar that has been known to frequent and play cornhole, where he shot additional people. I believe a total of 18 people were killed, mostly men. He then fled, was sought by authorities, and was later found dead at his former workplace. The question is, what could be done to prevent this? How could this be stopped? And we've got a lot of ideas here. We're going to be using the eSecurity Dashboard's threat assessment tools just to get a comprehensive look at the situation. The program, if we look at on this case, what we're going to be looking at are factors. These are elements or considerations that might have shown that the risk was real. The point of our program is to show the big picture, show all the factors in place so that you could see the gestalt image to know when there might be a potential threat. So one way we could do this is just look at our corkboard view. Here's just a list of number of characteristics. We can go through them and we could consider what the issues might be. The first thing was back in 2002, he joined the Army Reservists. And this is not certainly a threat or a concern at all. What it does demonstrate is that he has military knowledge, he's familiar with guns, and he had further training. This isn't someone who just picked up a gun and just went to a range a few times. He had some experience. I think initially that the reports were stating that he was a firearms instructor for the Army Reserve, but apparently this was not true. He was a sergeant, and I think he was in charge of petroleum supply. Also, another factor, just going back, getting a frame about this, he was married but divorced. I didn't add this in as a factor, but apparently in the report that it was stated that when he was not using his firearms, he's supposed to keep them locked up. I believe that might have been an element of the divorce proceedings. All the information I'm getting here hopefully is correct. If there's anything wrong, please make a comment, and we'll review that and try to find out the truth. The issue is we're trying to get as much data info, and we're going to be speculating. We're not doing a full investigation, but we're looking at what are the potential elements that might have led to this, and then what those same elements could have been seen, and then actions can be taken. What else was new? He got a DUI, I believe, in 2007. When we look at his criminal history, I think he also had some speeding tickets, but there was no threats of violence. There was no violent history in terms of criminal behavior. Now, again, I didn't add this as a element in here, but apparently neighbors said that, they felt concerned about him, that he seemed one of those odd fellows. Apparently someone who knew him well, when they found out about the shooting, they stated that it wasn't a surprise. Again, unless I hear a direct quote or something direct from an individual, I may not add this as a factor. What was known is that when at a certain point he certainly was a gun enthusiast. He also borrowed or had access to his friends and neighbors' guns. So the simple question, when we look at the risk factors, one thing we could do is just put this all on a scale, and this tool allows you to look at all of the points and add it to a chart so that you could create a big view picture of the situation. So, we have this pie chart. I break these up into different categories, such as weapons, the threat, his history of violence. As I stated, it's not a history of violence, but he was capable of violence through his experience with the Army Reservists. In terms of other factors that we could look at, one thing that I think was a very big concern was a while back, allegedly he broke up with his girlfriend. Now, I have very little information about that, whether this is referring to his ex. There was thought that he went to the bowling alley and to the bar where maybe this ex-partner frequented, and he was actually searching for her. According to family members, after the breakup, his health severely declined in terms of losing a lot of weight, Allegedly, they said he stopped taking medications, and that also some of the concerns about some of the things he was hearing came these schizophrenic hearings, these hallucinations, auditory hallucinations were coming in, and it might have been that he felt he was being persecuted by other individuals. This is all certainly a very big concern. And so one thing that this tool does is it lets you categorize it. Now, I don't, it doesn't give a rank automatically since we rely on the investigators, whoever's adding the data, to provide a value. For instance, another thing that occurred recently is that he lost his job. Allegedly, he was fired from the recycling center where he later committed suicide in one of the trailers in the back. Well, I gave this a rank of 8, where if he broke up with his girlfriend, has issues, has these concerns about people saying stuff about him, and then he's also got fired from his job. This just shows a level of instability. Things are not going well for him. For people who are things are going well, if you win the lottery, getting married, all these wonderful things are happening, you're certainly less likely to do something as tragic as going on a mass shooting and committing suicide. It certainly looks like with the troubles that he's had, his world was narrowing down. He had more and more issues going on that just were just overwhelming for him, and he chose to act out violently. Going back to those different factors, what we could do then is see that these restrictions led to family members being concerned, having worries that he might hurt himself or hurt others. Perhaps one of his most concerning issues when we talk about, in a sense, the threat, was when he allegedly stated that he was on a trip or was on a training operation with the reservists, and he made statements that he was going to shoot up an army base. And then when confronted about this by a fellow soldier, he punched him. When people talk about committing an act of violence, not directly to you, such as I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to shoot you, but they talk about what they'll do to another location, a third party or someone else, that's referred to as leakage. And there's a lot of concerns about that. People often talk about the things that they are going to do. So that leak was certainly a very big concern. Such a concern that he was then committed then to the a mental health facility. The Army came in and they took him in for it's I've heard where it was just one day, and then I've heard that it was up to 2 weeks. I've also heard that it was voluntary, that he chose to go along and he wasn't committed or involuntarily taken there. He was there for a while, and then he was released with the restrictions that he couldn't have any firearms. Now, regarding that, he did attempt to buy a suppressor for his firearm. And although he purchased it online, when he went to go pick it up at the gun dealership, he was denied obtaining the suppressor because he stated that he was in such a facility. And that just prohibited him from having that firearm. What the concerns are certainly is we see that he's been collecting weapons. After he's been told he shouldn't have possession, he then tries to obtain a suppressor. Going on just, with that concern was such a major issue that they asked to have a wellness check done on him. So if we could, look up that certainly point where we had the wellness check, we see that there was a real concern. So the sheriffs would come and do a knock and talk. Apparently they went one day and he was not there, or because they did not have a warrant, they couldn't go into the facility, into his home. So they did return the next day with the same results, knocking, asking to speak, but they're not sure whether he was home or not. But they did not have a chance to speak to him. This is certainly a concern. Family members are speaking out. We have the sheriffs going there to see if he's all right. This has raised up the issue of the yellow flag laws. In other states, it's called the red flag law, and this is referring to when the state or law enforcement can come in and remove firearms from a person if they feel that they could be a threat to themselves or others. And there's some controversy around that. Certainly, this point was not enabled or enacted where the officers had the right to enter the home and remove the firearms from the individual. It was then shortly after this that he went on to the rampage, killing all those people in the entertainment facilities, in the bowling alley over at the bar. Another thing that came into play is that he had a suicide note. Now, it was unknown when the suicide was written, but allegedly it was written to his son. And I've heard it described as, it hasn't been released, but it was described as not a suicide note per se, distinctly stating it out, but he made a letter to his son and then provided information about how people could access his bank accounts or his phone and other important information. Certainly something that's left behind for others. Now, if you encounter a suicide note, obviously that's very, very serious, and that had certainly a higher ranking. If we look at all these factors, the one thing I want to say is this is the e-security dashboard, and you're welcome to see about having it for your organization. Related to this is we also have the e-panic button. The panic button is a duress alarm mass notification system. If you mouse over, you can click on that. False alarm prevention, so you can send the message off. You can't hear it because my mic cancels it, but this is the pop-up that can go on anyone's desk, along with emails, text messages, and phone calls to anyone you like. So certainly could be used at places like the bowling alley or that the bar. Not to give any criticism, I can't imagine anything that could be been done to help prevent that, but this is a tool, especially for lower level threats, that could be utilized. If you're interested in such a tool, you're welcome to use it for your workplace. But along with this, we also provide commissions for anyone who make a referral. So if your workplace, your children's school, or anywhere you think that might use this, if you could give a referral that is successful, we give a 50% commission to anyone who makes a referral. Please come and check it out. More details will be in the description of this video. Going back to this shooting, it certainly is a major concern with all the things that could be found here. One view that we could do is look at a timeline, and we put on these factors together. So the blue area kind of shows the escalation of that concern. One of the greatest risk factors, I believe, is when a person of concern or the subject's behavior becomes more threatening and more frequent. So if they do things that are more harassing, more dangerous, more threatening, and between there's less time between such actions, that's a major concern. Not only are we looking at their behaviors, but we're looking at things that occur to them, such as getting fired, such as losing your girlfriend, or the girlfriend breaking up with him. Those are big risk factors that point towards the person's stability. If we look at just like the past few weeks before the incident, we see the mental health decline, is obtaining guns, threatened to shoot at the base, attempting to get fire or a suppressor, even then he was told not to have such items, and then the wellness checks, which didn't come through. Again, hindsight is 2020, but when we look at this case, we see that there was a real potential for damage there, and it's unfortunate that the deputies were not able to speak with him sooner. What can we do about preventing all this? Certainly, we can look at having these tools that are available. The threat assessment tool is also an incident management program that can be used by your workplace to manage all of your safety or security incidents. And it's something that I believe can really help keep your workplace safe. The other thing that could work is our e-panic button. It's not just a panic button, but you can have a button just for low-level concerns. You design the buttons, it's entirely configurable. And so if you just have someone who makes you uncomfortable or you're a little worried about, you could just get a coworker in there to come and help you. And then they'll get a pop-up saying they need support, that's saying that you need support. If any of those things have interested you, please check them out. They'll be in the description below. And if you know any organizations that may be interested, we'll be providing a 50% commission for all referrals. Thank you so much. And please give us a like and subscribe. And we're going to be doing a lot more of these to help prevent these Rampage incidents from occurring. Thank you for your time.